Hello, my name is Nathan McIntyre, and this is my video for the first sprint for game balancing. We are supposed to go through all these issues and talk about what we worked on. We're supposed to read them. Uh, some of my feedback ones I just went through a really fast description because I was in a hurry because I did quite a bit. Uh, but the feedback just talks about given from our lecture from our instructor, and I went through and added all these based on the feedback I got from our instructor and some of my classmates. Uh, I wanted to add I added a basic attack that was on a 1 second cooldown. Uh, the attack speed choice increases it, which is down here. After doing that, it left left and right mouse open. I didn't have anything, and they suggested special attacks, so I created a heavy attack that does 2 times of the uh, basic attack damage. It requires stamina. Uh, One of the skill choices is player damage. I'm using it to scale all the attacks, so it's literally just player damage times 2 in the code. Uh, the right mouse block damage depletes stamina. It almost uses it kind of like a health bar. Uh, I'm also shield getting it, which is kind of a small excuse for not carrying the damage over into health, but at the same time, there's games like Elder Scrolls Online that do that with some of their or energy shields. But as long as you have 1 stamina, it'll let you block all damage from an attack. But then it depletes. Say if you get hit for 10, then it takes your stamina down to 0, and then you're taking health after that. So if you're getting hit by like 12 different things at once, you're gonna have to get lucky with blocking the big hit. Uh, the dragon collision, the dragon landing. What happens is the dragon jumps up in the air, and when he landed, sometimes the player would get stuck. So I had this. He would spawn a box collision underneath him. There's the blueprint called dragon landing, and it would push the player away. Is how I was trying to keep it from it. But after feedback, they told me it might work better to make the dragon model overlap up to a certain point, and then I just attach this permanently. So if you go too far in the dragon, it'll push you away. Uh, which I reduced its size because it was really big. Uh, right before it landed, but it works pretty good. It's still kind of janky. I need to do something more with it. The blue reward. Oh, so I removed block chance here. Uh, the blue shrine reward was 60% block chance, and that was before I had a stamina bar. So I removed that and added basic attacks replenish stamina now, which is the light attack that's on the auto basic attack. So you can technically be blocking and getting stamina back with your auto attack, since it doesn't use stamina. It just the heavy attack does. But yeah, you can get it's a neat little thing going on. This I did not work on. I need to add a particle effect that lets the player know, hey, the dragon's getting ready to breathe, dodge, or block or something. But I didn't get that far in the sprint. The tutorial screen. I want to create a brief description of the objective using screenshot. It's going to look like almost like a tip the player would see in most loading screens. It does kind of look like a loading screen tip. It's just a screenshot of. It's 2 screenshots in game. The boss objective, you press play from main menu, and then it appears and it shows the final boss and explains. It just says, "Hey, defeat the boss." The shrines after the boss objective screen, the shrine screen pops up. It shows a screenshot of all three shrines, and it says you can get rewards with that are player skills if you complete one. Uh, it doesn't say what they are or what order to go in or anything like that. Uh, and then I updated the title menu. Uh, I didn't add a description with this. I took screenshots and added screenshots from the game to the title menu. These two right here is all this was. I forgot to put a description for that. The Ice Dome. I only had 2 legendary skill choices that worked. The third was going to be a riposte skill. I'm going to remove the riposte skill, take the Ice Shard skill, and put it in the third legendary slot. What I did, I had Ice Shard in the Niagara particle system. I need to extend the lifetime of particles and distance they travel to match the lifetime of the bubble. So, and then I added a bubble here. Need to add a transparent sphere. And then I changed the code to damage over time. Instead of the attack applying damage once, I'm going to have damage applied to the enemy on begin overlap until it exits the bubble with an end overlap the same way I did with the garlic skill. I use a bowl on both begin and end overlaps to set where the enemy is taking damage from the skill or not. So what I did here, I had in the level up skill choices, I had ice attacks, but I only had one attack, and the rest were just passive skill choices. And I was missing a third legendary skill, so I just took the Ice Shard attacks and created an Ice Dome for the third legendary skill. Is basically what I did. I will show this. These you'll be able to see. I'll demonstrate all this. I'll play it here in a minute. All of this, I'll get this and the dot for the basic attack and show kind of the tanky build, or one of the options. There's another synergy was the word I was looking for. It's a cool synergy. You can like attack while you're blocking. This I'll pick this. This is I can pick. These will show it when it begins to play. I can pick the blue reward and the ice in the same playthrough. This was just adding basic stats for level up skill choices. Here I talk about the ice shards. I use the ice shards to create the legendary choice for the bubble. Leaves only passive stat choices for leveling up. Currently there is only 1 damage stat choice, player damage, 2 defense, max HP and HP regen, and 1 utility movement speed. I want to give the player 3 random choices in each slot to make the game more interesting. I'm going to add crit chance and attack speed for the basic attack to the damage choice, plus defense for the third defensive option, and after adding the stamina bar, max stamina and stamina regen for the utility choices. So essentially, it's more like Death Must Die than Vampire Survivors, but instead of it being completely random based on like whatever god you get, there's a left, center, and right skill choices. The left one's always damage, the middle one's always defense, and the right one's always utility. So you can. They're still random, like everything in like damage is random and everything in defense is random, but you can still kind of build your character mostly tanky or mostly like a glass cannon. Or yeah, it depends how you want to build it. It gives the player more control over what's going on. Uh, a crit chance, I need to add a crit chance variable to the player stats BP. The skill choice will add 3% each time it's picked. Crit damage modifier will be 1.3. Need to play test it. Also need to add code for it in the level up widget that allows it to be an option. You'll get to see all of these when I play here in a minute. I ended up making it 1.5 or like 50% more damage because some of the stuff you couldn't really tell it was even doing more damage. I need to add attack speed variable to the player stats BP. Skill choice will add 5% each time it's picked. Need to play test it. I left it at 5%. It feels pretty good. I capped it at it starts out at a full second, but you can't go more than 0.2 seconds for attack speed. I clamped it. Also need to add code for it in the level up widget that allows it to be an option, which I did. I need to add defense variable to the player stats BP. The skill choice will add 5% each time it's picked. And damage code for each attack. I'll add code multiplying the damage of the attack by the defense variable amount to get the new amount applied to player health. Need to play test it. Also need to add code for the level widget. Yeah. So what I did here is it's 3% is what I settled on instead of 5. But it starts out at 0. So what I'm doing is the code when an enemy attack does damage to you, when it checks the damage reduction, it's just multiplying itself by 1, so it stays the same. So when the player picks the defense option, which is 3%, not 5, it subtracts like 0.03 from the multiplier and then multiplies it by 0.97 whenever it checks the variable for defense. Max stamina skill choice will add 10 each time it's picked. Need to play test it. Also need to add the code for it in the level up widget that allows it to be an option. I made it 15. A skill choice will add 2.5 stamina regen each time it is picked. Need to play test it. Also need to add the code for it in the level up widget. I kept it at 2.5 a second. It feels pretty good at that right now. I want to add whoever challenges the game by not allowing the player to constantly dash. That's what the stamina bar is for. Need to move the mana shield bar down slightly and place the stamina bar below the health bar. Also need to bind stamina bar using the variable created in the player stats. What I did here actually is instead of moving the mana shield down, the back of it, I set the opacity to 0 and overlaid it on the HP bar, and then when you select mana shield, it sets visibility on mana shield, and the purple will go left to right over the health bar, and as you take damage, it'll go back down. You can see the health bar behind it. The player stats BP need to add stamina max and stamina variables. They need to add code for the dash to cost stamina as well as the stamina regenerate. A variable also needs to be created for the stamina regenerate. So what I did here, whenever you block, dash, or heavy attack, there's a bool that gets checked off in the player stats where the regen is taking place for stamina, the player stats blueprint. And as soon as that bool hits yes, there's a 1 second delay, and then it'll set the bool to false and then start regenerating stamina again. The victory stat screen. After the player defeats the final boss, I want the game to pause and show a screen full of different stats. It will show how much damage each selected skill produced, as well as how many enemies the player defeated. I added more than just damage and enemies defeated. The widget needs to display each skill and how well each skill performed. It also needs to continue a continue button that will take the player back to the main menu. It does that. Need to create a damage variable for each skill in the player's stat blueprint so that the variables can be stored without being reset. When damage applied to enemy, the player amount will be added to the variable, and then the variable will be called in the victory stat screen. So I just, instead of saying victory up top, it just says results, because it triggers whether you defeat the ogre commander or whether you die. That way you can see, you can kind of tell what was going on, whether you win or lose. But all the variables are in the player stats blueprint. It's where I hold all the XP and everything. I removed target lock. Most testing playthroughs I haven't used target lock, and most of the playtesters I've watched haven't used the seal either. Some of them used it just to see if it worked, but that was it. They never used it after that. I didn't write a description for that one. I just removed it. Need the timer to pause whenever the game pauses from a skill choice selection, or from the player pausing the game. The idea is to use the timer to set the pacing and basically hint at the overall objective. I'm going to try setting a boolean in the player's stat speed piece so it doesn't get reset when I call remove from parent each of the widgets. So what ended up happening here is I tried that and it didn't work. So I moved the code out of the widget into the player, again, into the player stats BP. And I didn't even have to add a boolean. It just paused when the game did. It was once I figured it out, it was a really quick fix, but it took me a minute to figure it out. And then balancing, need to play test the game quite a bit to be able to adjust how strong the player is as they make decisions versus how strong enemies' bosses get as the game progresses. This is just like a kind of like the teacher mentioned, like a designer's passive balancing, just to kind of get it ready for the next sprint. The last, up until this point, it was really easy just to show how the mechanics work and stuff, just to be like, yeah, it works type thing. But now it's less. You need to set how many times a player can dash before running out of stamina, along with how long it takes to get stamina back. Base stamina is 100. You can dash 3 times and with a full bar, or heavy attack twice. Blocking, which I mentioned earlier, it's as long as you have 1 stamina, it'll like shield gate kind of. So you can technically throw a heavy attack and then dash and then still block a little bit, or let it regen. Biggest thing here is the crit chance choice. The player will have to make this choice multiple times for it to feel worth it, but in doing so, the other choices need to be balanced so that the player can still feel strong enough to keep progressing. I think I'm going to... Crit chance is at 3% each time it goes up, and in my playtests I found I don't pick it very often. I usually go for player damage more and defensive options. And I don't pick crit chance because it takes so many picks to level up, but I might increase it to make it more worthwhile. The plus defense option will be similar to the crit chance option. It'll take multiple choices to really seem worth it, but player healing needs to be accounted for since not all of the shown choices give the player an additional healing method. So I might have to bump up the value of HP regen. I didn't touch HP regen actually. Like, if it's at 3% damage mitigation every time you pick the defense option, and it feels really, really good. Need to set max stamina and stamina choices to make them feel somewhat needed. It's plus 50. It's max stamina is plus 15. So 2 of those gives, if you make 2 max stamina choices with a full bar, you can do a third heavy attack or a fourth dash. And then it's like every two choices, it gives you. It's every three choices for heavy attack, and every two choices gives you another dash. Need to make sure the player feels like the boss's attacks are actually dangerous and need to dash away sometimes. Don't want the player to mostly just be able to stand still and soak up all the damage unless they only picked all defensive healing options. My playstyle is different from a lot of people. I play mostly tanky, so for me, and I'll show it. I use dash to get stuff to kill it faster for more XP, but a lot of times I will block and try to soak up damage because I play tanky. This will go hand in hand with enemy density. Most games in this genre create difficulty with a ton of slow-moving enemies the player can't really escape from, while having some elites or bosses that act more aggressively. I'm going to playtest it and see. It feels more fun with aggressive enemies. So with slower enemies, the thing about with a whole lot of slow enemies compared to fewer aggressive enemies, what I did with adding the stamina bar feels, I don't know how to explain that. It doesn't feel like it matters as much with slow enemies. Like with enemies putting pressure on you, it makes you feel like you have to manage it better, and the game's a lot easier without aggressive enemies. So I just left it as it was. I didn't change it and slow everything down. Again, with this, I left this as it was too after testing it. This will go hand in hand with enemy damage and movement speed. Most games in this genre create difficulty with a ton of slow-moving enemies the player can't really escape from, while having some elites or bosses that act more aggressively. I'm going to play test to see if it feels more fun with less more aggressive enemies or more slower enemies. I probably should have reworded that. It doesn't kind of make sense, but yeah, more aggressive enemies, or well, yeah, it does make sense. Less more aggressive enemies. That's what I left at X. It puts pressure on your stamina usage. I want to adjust XP value so the player gets close to level 50 by the time the commander responds in 10 minutes. I fixed the timer, but I think I forgot to put the ogre commander. I think he still spawns at 9 minutes. He's supposed to spawn at 10. I need to fix that. But I'm getting close to like 45, 48 by the time he spawns without changing anything, depending on how fast I kill stuff. Like if you kill stuff slower, you're not going to be as high level, but there's also the bonus XP. I haven't done a test run with how everything is now. I need to try it. Shield block. In the Blu-ray skill choice, the shield block seems to be the weakest. I need to adjust the block chance and test to make it a viable option. I removed that and did the stamina replenish on the light attacks instead. And then minor bug fixing. I just little stuff like I had the code for the crits. I was calculating crit damage on the result of the math problem instead of including it in the input. I was accidentally healing enemies whenever I crit. That was one of them. Another one was I clamped the mana shield and the damage blocked, like how much damage the mana shield soaked up, and then the stat for damage blocked when you're blocking. I clamped them wrong, and they were multiplying the numbers instead of being accurate. But I will demonstrate all of this tutorial screen. When I play it, it'll do it. I'll pick the ice tome and you'll see the stamina bar and you'll see the stat screen and all the basic stats for level up choices. And then on the feedback, I'll show the dragon collision and both of these, and I'm gonna pick the stamina replenish. But here's the build. Controls are heavy attack, left mouse, right clicks block, spacebar dash through enemies. Here's the tutorial screen. This is the Ogre Commander. It's just telling you to defeat him. And then here's the tutorial screen for the Shrines. It says they contain boards based on rarity of the Shrine. The purple and the orange will not activate until you do the blue one. Once you do the blue one, you can skip the purple and go to the orange if you want, like they both unlock. The orange one will not unlock if there's a boss. You can only have one boss up at a time. But basically, dash, take stamina. This is the basic attack just going on. And then here's some of the level up choices. Max health was from a previous sprint, but attack speed and max stamina are both new. Yeah, if you try using any stamina at all, when you don't have enough, it'll blink red. Yeah, you can block. And then it makes a different sound and starts taking damage to, which I'm still blocking and attacking at the same time. But once I run out of block, then I'm still holding the button down, but it won't reset till I go and start regenerating. But now I'm taking health damage, and the visual went away for the block too. That went kind of fast. That's a big heavy attack. I like the defensive stat. Light attacks restore stamina. So now I can block. Oh, let me use up some of my stamina. So blocking keeps stamina from regenerating, and you can see my light attack is regenerating while I'm blocking. Now, it's not a whole lot, but once you get into some enemies, like groups of enemies, it'll start. It starts making a big difference. The damage reduction from the plus defense option also works for how much damage is blocked. I use the same code for whether you take damage to health or blocking. I'm kind of almost technically able to perma block for a little bit. And of course, attack speed increases how much stamina you get. Let's go get this. Oh, I've got the timers works now too. Let's go with speed. I'll jump off so you can't really tell a whole lot. Good player damage. Yeah, it was taking light attacks now. Or 3 light attacks now, taking 2 for real enemies. Okay, here is this guy. Let's start going crit chance a little bit actually. I'm doing a good amount of damage. Lots of slams everywhere. Attack speed. I need to show the timer stops in a little bit. The block works even if you hit from behind too. Taking more damage than I'm regenerating. Crit chance again. Crit chance doesn't work on the damage over time skills, but it works on everything else. There's not really, besides maybe seeing their bars go down quickly all at once, there's not a good way to tell. So this guy's not the perfect choice. If I wasn't trying to do the like a block synergy thing here, light attack does. This is only for light attack. It doesn't apply to. And this increases the dot as well. It doesn't. Here, I'll show it on this guy. See how he starts ticking. They're almost getting one shot now. Okay, so we're gonna go with player damage, I guess. Whenever there's a dot on them, the light attack will set the dot timer back to 0. That way it doesn't, like if you hit again while it stacks for 5 seconds. That way if you hit it again while it's going, it doesn't, you don't get robbed of your dot damage. That's how the dragon's pushing back. I've showed you defense. So it takes some damage. Just kill stuff faster, maybe. That's where it's kind of janky, like it caught for a second, push me back. I really need to work on him a little bit. See how it pushes me out. See if I can do it again. Damage. Dragon hits harder now. If you go into him, it pushes you out. Okay, Ice Stone. This is the third legendary one I worked on. The material is two-sided, that way you can see both sides. I guess that's self-explanatory. But it'll spawn, and it doesn't slow everything down, but it does slow some stuff down that enters it. really heavy attacking at all on this run. Oh, I just realized something. I was wondering why my movement speed isn't. Uh, I'm taking some damage. I have the light attack set to slow you down whenever you light attack, so it's perma slowing me. I need to fix that and make it to where on heavy attack it does it. The stamina regen makes it regen faster when it's not. On no, I'm gonna leave it at 30% as much as I got it this run. The past couple of runs I haven't got it that much. I've got it a lot here. I'm doing a lot of damage here. Still getting it. That's basically the whole thing. Yeah, I guess that is more accurate. I mean, I didn't have it for very long, but it's everything is running towards me, and it's a really large. It's on a second cooldown. I killed 810 enemies. This is really high because the that's actually kind of high. I didn't heavy. I must have where I had my crit up. Heavy attack is times 2, and then another 50%. Like it gets yeah. But the dot counts as light attack damage in the code. That's how. Because I didn't. Yeah. But yeah, these are all the results. These are showing 0 because I didn't pick those. I picked the ice stone and the stamina regen instead of the garlic and the skeleton are both blue, and I picked the stamina regen instead. Again, with the skeleton companion healing, I didn't pick him, and I didn't pick lifesteal because I picked the dot for light attack damage, and the mana shield meteor shower and ice stone are all the legendary ones. Yeah, 810 enemies. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.